Good morning, you're watching AnewZ. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are your top stories. The US government has shut down after Congress failed to pass a funding bill, leaving workers unpaid and services halted. At least 60 people dead and dozens injured after a powerful earthquake strikes the Philippines. And a nationwide communications blackout in Afghanistan causes distress among families overseas. President Donald Trump has addressed a rare gathering of senior military leaders at Quantico, a Marine Corps base near Washington, D.C. Hundreds of generals, admirals, senior commanders and their top advisors were summoned from all over the world by Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth with little notice. No official reason was given for the meeting, but the US President talked about global issues, including the war in Gaza, the US withdrawal of Afghanistan and the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
Anything you want. And then we just have the one to settle, and we have to settle it up with President Putin. And Zelensky, got to get them together and get it done. But the only way we can do that is through strength. I mean, if we were weak, they wouldn't even take my phone call, but we have extreme strength. We had the horror show in Afghanistan, which is really the reason I think that Putin went in. He saw that horror show by Biden and his team.
The US government has shut down after Congress missed the midnight funding deadline. Lawmakers failed to reach a deal, with both parties blaming each other. Non-essential services are suspended and thousands of federal workers are now without pay.
The United States government has officially entered its 15th shutdown since 1981, after Congress failed to pass a funding bill before the midnight deadline on Tuesday night. The Senate had debated a temporary spending bill earlier that day, hoping to avoid a shutdown. But lawmakers were unable to agree on it, as no real negotiations took place. Republicans and Democrats blamed each other for the deadlock. Democrats wanted to include extended healthcare support in the funding bill, but Republicans argued that the issue should be handled separately.
And if the government shuts down, it is on the Senate Democrats. The House has acted. The President's ready to sign the bill, and all that's left is for 8 Democrats to join us in passing that bill today.
Democrats do not want a shutdown. We stand ready to work with Republicans to find a bipartisan compromise, and the ball's in their court.
President Donald Trump blamed the Democrats for the shutdown and warned that his administration may now take what he called irreversible actions. He didn't give details, but has recently talked about shrinking the federal workforce.
It had nothing to do with him. They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested, so the last person that wants it shut down is us. Now, with that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them. Like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
As the deadline passed, federal agencies began shutting down services not deemed essential. Essential workers will continue to work, but without pay. Non-essential workers have been placed on unpaid leave. The move affects a wide range of services. These include food assistance programs, federally funded preschools, student loan processing, food inspections, and the operation of national parks. Many scientific research offices and customer service departments are now closed. Airlines have warned that flight delays are possible, as agencies involved in air traffic and transportation services are also impacted. More than 150,000 workers are already due to leave federal payrolls this week after taking a buyout, the biggest exodus in 80 years. This is the first since a long 35-day closure in 2018 and 2019, which was caused by a fight over immigration. Budget showdowns like this have become a regular issue in Washington as political divisions deepen. Although they're often solved at the last moment, this time no deal was reached.
European leaders will gather in Copenhagen today and tomorrow for 2 major meetings. An informal talk of the EU heads of state or government on Wednesday and a European Political Community Summit on Thursday. Discussions will focus on strengthening Europe's common defence and support for Ukraine, including a NATO plan to deploy an air defence system over western Ukraine. Leaders will also address recent Russian airspace violations, fast delivery of joint defence capabilities, support for the eastern flank, and governance measures to meet the 2030 target. Germany is stepping up efforts to recruit tens of thousands more soldiers as NATO members expand their forces to counter the threat from Russia.
Germany is stepping up efforts to strengthen its armed forces, the Bundeswehr, the Associated Press reports. Berlin aims to add tens of thousands of soldiers as NATO builds up defences on its eastern flank against Russia. The government has already committed more than 100 billion euros to modernise equipment, including new fighter jets, tanks and helicopters. The government has also loosened strict debt rules to fund higher military spending. Officials are tackling long-standing infrastructure gaps. After conscription ended, 48 barracks were closed and many remaining facilities were in poor condition. Plans are now in place to build 76 new military accommodations by 2031. Germany currently has about 180,000 service members and hopes to raise that figure to 260,000 over the next decade. The Defence Ministry plans better pay, improved training, and more flexible contracts to make military service more appealing. Starting next year, all 18-year-olds will be asked about their willingness to serve, with mandatory medical exams for young men beginning in 2027. Military leaders say credibility depends not only on modern weapons, but also on trained personnel. To highlight service, Berlin has launched advertising campaigns, new veterans events, and public swearing-in ceremonies. For NATO, Germany's role is pivotal. With its size and resources, Berlin is expected to take the lead in building the strongest conventional force on the alliance's European side.
On Tuesday, Ukrainian troops held drills near the front line in Kharkiv. Soldiers trained with a Russian-made armoured vehicle now adapted for their use.
Ukrainian soldiers carried out tactical training in the Kharkiv region on Tuesday. The exercise took place near the front line, where troops manoeuvred with a Tiger armoured vehicle. The Tiger, a Russian four-wheel drive designed for infantry mobility, has been adapted for use by Ukrainian forces. Crews practice battlefield manoeuvres, testing speed, positioning and coordination under combat conditions. The drill was aimed at sharpening readiness and resilience in one of the most contested areas of the war. The drills highlight Kyiv's focus on mobility and rapid response, as soldiers prepare for the possibility of renewed offensives.
The situation at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station has become critical. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his video address on Tuesday. The Ukrainian president accused Russia of deliberately preventing repairs to damaged power lines. Zelensky called the situation an unprecedented global nuclear threat and urged international partners to increase attention to the risks surrounding the facility. He said the plant were never designed to operate in this mode for so long, and one of the generators has failed already. Beyond the nuclear crisis, Zelensky condemned Russian drone strikes that hit several regions. The Ukrainian president vowed that Kyiv would respond to the attacks. Yemen's Houthi group says it attacked a Dutch cargo ship in the Gulf of Aden. The announcement comes as the group imposes sanctions on major US oil companies, raising the risk of violating a ceasefire agreement.
Yemen's Houthi group have claimed responsibility for an attack on the Dutch-flagged general cargo ship which caught fire in the Gulf of Aden on Monday. According to the European Union maritime mission Aspides, a defensive maritime security operation, the strike injured 2 sailors and prompted a helicopter evacuation of the ship's 19 crew members. The Iran-aligned group has vowed to continue targeting vessels in the Red Sea, describing the attacks as acts of solidarity with Palestinians amid the war in Gaza.
Our great, struggling and steadfast Yemeni people continue and will continue to support and defend the oppressed Palestinian people against the crime of the century. The Yemeni armed forces affirm that their military operations are ongoing and will not be ceased until the aggression is halted and the blockade on the Gaza Strip is lifted.
The Yemeni armed forces also announced sanctions on US oil giants, including Exxon and Chevron, despite an earlier ceasefire with the Trump administration not to target US-linked ships in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. These restrictions are in response to US sanctions imposed on the Houthis this year and include 13 American companies, 9 executives and 2 vessels. It is not yet clear if this move signals that the Houthis will begin targeting vessels tied to the sanctioned organizations, which would violate the ceasefire agreement with the United States. The Houthis began attacking Israel and maritime traffic in November 2023, a month after the 7th of October Hamas attack in southern Israel that triggered the war in Gaza.
An offshore earthquake of magnitude 6.9 caused buildings to collapse late Tuesday in the Philippines, killing at least 60 people. The city of Bogo and other affected towns declared a state of calamity. The epicenter was about 12 miles northeast of Bogo, a coastal city of about 90,000 people. Officials reported the collapse of a commercial building and a school in the city. Classes were suspended at 46 different schools. The officials of the Philippines said the region had been rocked by 379 aftershocks and will likely spur for months. Afghans living overseas are growing increasingly anxious as a nationwide communications blackout in Afghanistan has cut off all contact with their families. According to reports, the Taliban ordered internet and mobile phone data services to be cut across the country, but with no explanation.
Afghans living in Europe say they were nervous with no news from their families after internet and mobile phone services were cut by the Taliban in Afghanistan. Living in Belgium, 21-year-old Atif Salozi stares at his phone, refreshing the screen over and over. Since Monday evening, there has been nothing. No messages, no calls, no updates from his family in Lagman province.
It was Monday. Last Monday from 5 o'clock. The internet was, everything is closed. No one have contact with the family. There's a big happen. No one don't know about the family. It's closed, you know. What happened is there. We don't know nothing.
Around the world, Afghans are living through similar moments of fear and uncertainty. On Monday, internet and mobile networks across Afghanistan collapsed to less than 1% of their normal levels, according to the global internet monitor NetBlocks. The Taliban imposed a nationwide communications blackout, severing mobile, internet, and satellite TV services. Atif last spoke to his relatives on Saturday. Since then, every attempt to reach them has failed.
I don't have contact because many times I call, the internet was, is closed. You have nothing option in there for the calling. We call also by number is also closing. You have nothing.
In Paris, Wali Ahmadzai is facing the same silence. He is waiting for a message, a missed call, any sign from home.
It's not right for everyone because the families are very far. Having no news is tiring. It's really so hard for us. Imagine you have no news from your family. What's happening with you and everyone else?
For Afghans abroad, days are now measured by unanswered calls and fading hope. As the blackout stretches on, the distance between them and their loved ones feels wider than ever.
Earlier we were joined by Sara Wahedi, founder of an Afghanistan AI startup in London, who said the Taliban's communications blackout feels nearly airtight, with VPNs rare and costly and Starlink unlikely to fill the gap as it did in Ukraine due to Taliban control and lack of government support. Let's hear more.
It's not airtight. There are some people, I've seen one or two that have used VPN, but if you can just imagine, about 80% of Afghanistan does have some sort of mobile penetration, whether it's the very basic smartphone, the basic Nokia phones to, larger smartphones. But essentially the VPN network is something that is very rare, very, very rare. I mean, even in the West, VPN usage is quite, it's something that's not as widespread. People don't really know what VPNs mean or what they do. Also, they're quite expensive. Some of the free ones are accessible, but in Afghanistan, VPN is something that perhaps more elite families and more privileged communities will be able to use. So it does feel like a very airtight ban because, this kind of information just hasn't been disseminated and people haven't been prepared. And also, with Starlink, this is something that I've mentioned many times, is that Starlink worked in Ukraine because they had the support of the Ukrainian government. Tens of thousands of Starlink, essentially platforms have been spread across Ukraine, but that's just not going to happen in Afghanistan. I mean, the Taliban has an airtight control of surveillance of these machines, and I don't see tens of thousands of Starlink being able to fill in the gap for Afghans.
The 8th meeting of transport ministers of the Organization of Turkic States has concluded in Almaty. One of the key highlights of the gathering was the emphasis on the strategic importance of the Zangezur corridor. Turkey's Minister of Transport and Infrastructure, Abdulkadir Uraloğlu, said the project would open up new opportunities for the entire Turkic world.
The Zangezur corridor is not only crucial for transport connectivity, but also for the normalization process in the Caucasus. Turkey's Minister of Transport and Infrastructure, Abdulkadir Uraloğlu, made the comment at the 8th meeting of Ministers of Transport of the Organization of Turkic States, which brought together top officials in Almaty on Tuesday. Addressing the gathering, he said the corridor will benefit the region.
Another good news for our region is the opening of new opportunities through the Zangezur connection. This corridor will ensure direct land transport between Turkey and Azerbaijan and will be an important step to connect the entire Turkic world. At the same time, all regional countries will benefit from it.
Delegations discussed challenges faced by transport authorities and institutions across the Turkic states. They highlighted the successful implementation of the e-permit project and called for faster progress on adopting the ECMR system to further streamline logistics. In addition, participants welcomed the recent joint declaration between Azerbaijan and Armenia, describing it as a breakthrough that creates new prospects for opening and restoring regional transport corridors. The meeting concluded with the signing of a communiqué on the outcomes of the 8th ministerial meeting, underscoring the collective commitment of Turkic states to regional connectivity and cooperation.
Turkish Airlines has revealed plans to launch direct flights to Armenia, signalling a breakthrough in the ongoing process of normalizing relations with Yerevan. The announcement was made in a regulatory filing where the airline confirmed that the new route would connect Turkey with Armenia's capital. A launch date and flight frequency have not yet been finalized. Officials say the schedule will depend on passenger demand. The move aligns with the company's global growth strategy of pressing ahead with its ambitious fleet expansion, including 225 Boeing aircraft. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday signed a law denouncing the European Convention for the Prevention of Torture, according to a government website. According to the legislation passed by Parliament, Russia's denunciation was in response to the Council of Europe refusing to seat a Russian representative on a committee that oversees the Anti-Torture Convention. The convention had been one of the few remaining international treaties linked to the Council of Europe that Russia had not withdrawn from. Russia's parliament previously voted to leave the treaty, which Moscow ratified in 1998. Italian President Sergio Mattarella is visiting Azerbaijan. He was welcomed by Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev in Baku, and they held talks focusing on strengthening bilateral ties and economic cooperation. The two presidents are set to attend the opening of the Italy-Azerbaijan University on Wednesday.
Italian President Sergio Mattarella was welcomed at the Zugulba presidential residence by Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev for his official visit. An honor guard was lined up and both anthems played ahead of the meetings held in different formats. At the press statements following the talks, Mattarella and Aliyev focused on the level of cooperation and ways to upgrade it.
Ben Prezident Mattarella'ya bugün malumat verdim ki biz halihazırda
I informed President Mattarella today that we are currently working with the European Union on the export of electricity. A feasibility study for the construction of electric power lines is being prepared and is expected to be completed soon. Thus, the path opened by TAP and the Southern Gas Corridor is now paving the way for even larger projects.
Beləliklə TAP-ın açdığı yol, Cənub qaz dəhlizinin açdığı yol bugün daha böyük layihələrə yol açır.
We spoke with President Aliyev about the need to develop collaboration with the European Union, and Italy is working in this direction. Azerbaijan already has a partner. It is a broad and relevant coalition with many EU countries in it and the European Union. We hope it will grow further.
The two presidents are set to take part in the opening of the Italy-Azerbaijan University building on Wednesday.
And now let's take a look at the broader significance of this visit.
Relations between Azerbaijan and Italy have strengthened and grown in recent years within industries such as energy, trade, investment and technology. These ties are vital not only for both economies, but also for regional and European energy stability, according to officials. President Sergio Mattarella's visit to Baku on Tuesday is expected to reaffirm those traditional ties and launch discussions on further projects in industrial, technological and infrastructure sectors. Italy is Azerbaijan's largest trading partner. From January to August this year, trade reached $8.3 billion. That's more than a quarter of Azerbaijan's foreign trade. Most exports are oil and petroleum products, with more than 9.1 million tons shipped to Italy, valued at $4.8 billion. That's an increase of 48% in volume and 22% in value compared with the same period last year. Energy remains central to the partnership. Italian companies, including Ansaldo Energia, have contributed to major Azerbaijani infrastructure projects, such as supplying gas turbines and generators for the Mingachevir 8th of November power plant. Azerbaijani gas is exported to 14 countries, with the TAP pipeline connecting the South Caucasus to Italy as a key route to Europe. It ensures stable supplies and enables further collaboration. Cooperation is also expanding into renewable energy, refining, logistics, infrastructure and technological innovation. Joint projects in biofuels, emissions reduction and scientific exchange are creating new avenues for the partnership. This relationship between the two countries offers Azerbaijan the opportunity to attract new investments and technologies. It also strengthens Italy's role as a reliable partner in the South Caucasus. The partnership demonstrates a strategic collaboration across various sectors, promoting long-term economic stability and global energy cooperation.
Earlier, we were joined by Valerie Gianotta in Rome, who said Italy and Azerbaijan's complementarity and industrial partnership extended into defence, with Azerbaijan serving as a key interlocutor for security and deterrence in the wider Mediterranean and Central Asian region. And she stressed that new synergies in defence could bring fruitful outcomes. Let's listen in.
This complementarity and this industrial partnership in terms of defense definitely may be very well applied to Azerbaijan as well. We shouldn't neglect that Azerbaijan and Italy belong to the same Mediterranean basin in its enlarged perspective. Definitely when it comes to defense, but also when it comes to security, Azerbaijan represented a key interlocutor in terms of defense and in terms of containment and deterrence of all threats and challenges coming from Central Asia and from Asia as well. Therefore, new synergies also in terms of defense may be evaluated. I do believe they will produce fruitful outcomes as well.
Azerbaijan is hosting the second Azerbaijan-Uzbekistan Media Forum in Baku, which focuses on digital transformation and media's role.
Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan explore new avenues for media. For that reason, Baku is hosting second Azerbaijan-Uzbekistan Media Forum. The topic of the forum is digital transformation and media, which reflects growing recognition of media's critical role in democracy, transparency and social trust.
At the forum, representatives from both Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan delivered speeches. Speaking at the event, the executive director of the Media Development Agency, Ahmad Ismailov, stressed that digital regulation, new technologies, and shared standards will boost media development in both countries. Journalists from Uzbekistan also participated in the forum and shared their impressions of the event.
This is my fourth visit to Azerbaijan, Baku. It is also my second time participating in the forum. We are already cooperating on various projects. In recent years, Uzbekistan and Azerbaijan have become very closely connected, especially in the media sector. Working with Azerbaijani media is very beneficial and always interesting for us.
The forum continued with panel sessions on the topics media partnership in the digital age, joint initiatives in the field of information security, and ethical responsibility in the digital information environment. The second Azerbaijan-Uzbekistan Media Forum in Baku will continue until October 1st.
Turning to regional diplomacy, Georgia's reaction to Moldova's parliamentary elections has sparked debate, not about who won, but about where Georgia stands geopolitically. Our correspondent Nini Nikolashvili has more on that from Tbilisi.
In Sunday's vote, Moldova's pro-European European Party of Action and Solidarity, led by President Maia Sandu, secured nearly half the ballots. Across Europe, the result is being seen as a boost for democratic reform and a setback for Moscow's influence. But in Tbilisi, the response was mixed. Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze said it would be difficult for Georgia to congratulate Moldova so long as it remains a member of the Commonwealth of Independent States, or CIS, a bloc created in the early 1990s to keep former Soviet republics tied to Russia's political and security orbit. For Georgia, that association carries bitter memories. After the 2008 war with Russia, Tbilisi formally left the CIS, calling the organization a tool for Moscow to project power and undermine the sovereignty of its neighbors. That's why Kobakhidze explained that Georgia cannot treat Moldova's election result as a straightforward democratic milestone, while Moldova is still formally bound to a Russian-led structure. Yet, the message from Georgia is not one-sided. Opposition representatives, including the former president Salome Zurabishvili, praised Maia Sandu's victory as the best news for Europe, for democracy and a strong response to Russia's hybrid war. She stressed that pro-European Georgia stands firmly with Moldova against Russia's interference. The contrast between government caution and opposition enthusiasm highlights a deeper question. How should small post-Soviet states navigate between old Moscow-led institutions and the promise of European integration? For Georgia, Moldova's election is more than a foreign event. It is a mirror reflecting its own struggle to define alliances and defend sovereignty. As Brussels prepares for the next phase of the EU enlargement, both Moldova and Georgia remain at the heart of Europe's geopolitical crossroads, balancing history, security, and the urgent demand for democracy. It's Nini Nikolashvili reporting from Tbilisi, AnewZ.
Almaty has just experienced a football night to remember. On their Champions League debut, Kairat faced Real Madrid in a match that went far beyond the scoreline. The result may have been predictable, but the impact on Kazakhstan's football and image was historic. Fariza Kalimurzina has more on that.
Almaty has just lived through a major football night. On their Champions League debut, Kairat lost to Real Madrid. The result came as no surprise because experts had warned of the difference in class. Some fans left the stadium disappointed, others simply happy to see global football stars play here in Almaty.
So the game was absolutely crazy. I never thought that Kairat would lose so badly. I hoped it would be like 2-1 for the Kairat, but it was just so unexpected. 5-0 it's a crushing blow to my face.
Even we're lost, I just feel happy that I've been here. Feeling happy about seeing the world club like Real Madrid is very, very interesting.
I think Real Madrid came to score 5 goals against Kairat because they Atletico Madrid did 5 goals for them, right? So we're so happy that experienced this sort of match. However, Kairat's level must be improved, I think, in the future. So that's okay. That's okay. At least we had a good time.
But this was more than just a match. Over 5,000 foreign tourists came for the Kairat Real game. Together with fans from across Kazakhstan, the crowd ran into tens of thousands. And according to city officials, most visitors came from China, India, Russia, Japan, the UK and Spain. Both the economic and image impact of the event were significant.
Unfortunately for Kairat, they didn't win, but let's hopefully, because there are still matches left, like 6-7 matches, so we hope that they can move forward.
To be honest, I didn't expect that much. They did a very good job, and I really liked it. And I hope in the future they go to Champions League.
Next up are Inter, Arsenal and Sporting. More opportunities for Kairat to keep building the European story. And tonight has already shown it's not only the score that counts. Almaty hosted a football celebration. Kazakhstan drew global attention and the game itself injected fresh momentum into the country's football. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzina, AnewZ.
That's the news update from us in Baku this morning. Stay tuned to AnewZ for more.